Welcome to Sip Wisely, where we celebrate bourbon in all of its forms, from the legends you love to the emerging gems, including Missouri whiskey. I'm Jonathon Lee, your guide on this flavorful journey. Together, we'll dive into the stories, craftsmanship, and flavors that make every pour something special. So, pour a glass, settle in, and let's sip wisely. Welcome back, whiskey lovers, and welcome to Season 2 of the Sip Wisely podcast. I'm your host, Jonathon Lee, and I am thrilled to be back for another season of great stories, great spirits, and even greater conversations, all proudly brought to you by the St. Charles Bourbon Society. If this is your first time joining us, well, welcome. Sip Wisely is where we shine a light on the people, passion, and process behind the pour. We go beyond the bottle to explore the stories of the distillers and makers who are shaping the future of American spirits, especially right here in Missouri. To kick things off, I'm honored to sit down with Mark Sutherland, founder of Stone Ledge Distillery, located in the heart of Defiance, Missouri. Mark's journey into distilling is anything but typical. He's a former Missouri trade ambassador, a global connector, a lifelong storyteller, and a man who believes deeply in the value of local craftsmanship. With Stone Ledge, Mark has brought together his love of history, his passion for people, and his belief in the richness of Missouri-grown grains. The result? A distillery rooted in community, committed to authenticity, and producing some beautifully balanced whiskeys that deserve a place on every shelf. Before we jump into our conversation, make sure you're following the Sip Wisely podcast wherever you get your pours: Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or iHeartRadio. And if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to share it with a friend. Tag us on social media, and don't forget to check out the St. Charles Bourbon Society to stay connected with all our events, tastings, and local bourbon happenings. All right, let's get into it. Season 2 starts right now. Here's my conversation with Mark Sutherland of Stone Ledge Distillery. Welcome everybody into another episode of the Sip Wisely podcast. This is episode 1 of season 2. I'm excited. It's taking a little longer to get season 2 off the ground. We're focusing in on our event we just had passed on May 31st, but I'm excited to get season 2 underway. And we have an awesome distiller for you today, Stowlock Whiskey. Stone Ledge is going to be our focus, and Mark Sutherland is here with us today. Welcome, Mark.
Good to be here. Excited to be your kickoff for this season.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad. It worked out, and we've been here. You had us over for a bottle share.
That's right. Yeah, I was thrilled you guys came to hang out for a wee bit.
I'm excited you guys had us. Unfortunately, we only had like 5 of us come, but it was still a lot of fun, and hopefully, as we grow as a society, we'll get more people out here, and because it was a great night. And
you are always welcome.
Bartender did a fantastic job, and we had a lot of fun.
Good.
So the way these work, Mark, and for those who are just maybe listening for the first time, we do cater to those who may not be familiar with bourbon in general. Mm-hmm. And so, the first season we spent a lot of time talking about what does it mean to be a rye or that kind of thing. And so some people do listen and are in our season, and we know that. But we don't want to make sure we cater to everybody. So we'll kind of go through who you are first, and we'll talk about your distillery and the brand, and then we'll get to do some tasting in the next episode.
Sounds good.
So let's get started to learn more about Mark. All right. So we have our bourbon statistics, which always throws people off. Because the first one is bourbon age, and a lot of folks naturally think what is the age of your products, but it's around how long have you been around bourbon itself, whether it's a drinker, whether it's a distiller, that kind of thing.
Gotcha. Well, originally I'm from Scotland, so born in Scotland, grew up just outside London, came to America in the late 80s. So I guess from being a wee bairn back in Scotland, I was around the Scotch whiskey element of the International Whiskey Society, I guess. So it's always been part of the culture. And when I was a teenager, the first samples I had were, of course, Scotch, because that's where it started. And then more recently, probably in the last 15 years, I started to discover American whiskey, American bourbon whiskey, various other kinds of whiskeys that are made in the United States and also in Canada, and kind of expanded my palate and what I like. So I've probably always been an avid consumer and an advocate for whiskey of all sorts, but it's been the last probably 5-6 years that I've really started to dig into the industry. And it was 22 where we first came out with our product in partnership with a phenomenal local distiller who distills all our whiskey and vodka for us, Demetrius Kane. It's a contract relationship with him, but he's a genius among geniuses, and we're thrilled that we're able to work with him.
He is a scientist.
He is.
Yeah, we just left their facility and just amazed us with just we had pH balanced ice, which I didn't even know that was a thing, and so it was pretty cool. And so anytime we have this, as we go through this conversation, and those who've listened to the show before know that as I come across something that I think maybe some of you have questions about, I'll go and ask it and interrupt things. So I know we took last season, bourbon versus whiskey, right? What's the difference? Corn, that kind of thing. Now, what's the difference between Scotch and your typical bourbon whiskey?
Yeah, and it's an interesting conversation because a lot of people are like, well, I only like bourbon, I don't like whiskey. Well, bourbon's a category of whiskey.
Yep.
So there is a chance you may not like Scotch whiskey or Irish whiskey or Canadian whiskey, but there's a chance if you like bourbon whiskey, you're going to like some of the other stuff as well. So I always encourage people to branch out. You've got your favorites, but then branch out. Try some new things. So bourbon whiskey, 51% corn, made in America, brand new charred barrel.
Yep. So
Stone Ledge whiskey, which is our brand, our flagship whiskey is right now bourbon. It is 55% sweet corn, 40% honey wheat, and 5% malted barley. So it's also in a brand new Missouri white oak charred barrel, and it's made in America. So it qualifies as a bourbon. However, over the last couple of years, as we've been emptying our barrels of Stone Ledge whiskey, we've been refilling those barrels. The same mash, the same limestone filtered, maybe the same limestone filtered water from the Ozark Highlands, made in America. But when that comes out in 4 years or more, we can no longer call it a bourbon because it's not a brand new barrel. It's more of the Scotch model. It'll probably taste pretty identical.
Good, yeah.
But it's technically not a bourbon. So that's why I encourage people to kind of step beyond the categories.
Yeah.
Because you may discover some things you'd have missed otherwise. Scotch whiskey has to be made in Scotland. Single malt has to be made at a single distillery in Scotland of one malt. We've got the new American single malts coming out. They have some guidelines around them as well. But really, they're all whiskey. They're just different ways of producing it, different styles, and different rules. So Ozark Highlands whiskey, which is the category we operate under, has been a legal category for the last couple of years. That is required to use all natural limestone filtered water from the Ozark Highlands. It needs to be distilled, aged. The whole process has to happen in Missouri's Ozark Highlands, and it needs to be aged in a Missouri-made barrel. So simple requirements. Yeah. And then the mash can be whatever you want. So you could have an Ozark Highland rye. You could have an Ozark Highland bourbon. You could have an Ozark Highland whatever, heavy wheat or 100% corn or just the various styles you can have, which is actually thrilling because the Ozark Highlands have existed since 1819, and they really haven't had a distinct identity when it comes to spirits until more recently, even though distilling's been going on that entire time. Yeah. So all these categories are fun. They can also expose you to new things when you step out of the one thing you started with. Like I started with Scotch. I've stepped out into other things. I found some really good bourbons I like, some really good Canadian whiskeys I like, some more Scotches I like. So,
and so what's the region for Ozark Highlands?
Yeah, so it's basically, so what it is, 1819, the U.S. government was traipsing through what would become Missouri in 1821. And they discovered that from where I-70 runs today, all the way down into mid-Arkansas, with the exclusion of the Boot Heel, exclusion of Kansas City area and St. Louis, is a massive limestone shelf. It's a true highland region, one of the few in the world. And it's been shortened since then. It's been called the Ozark Highlands by the federal government ever since. Most people just call it the Ozarks or the Ozark Mountains, but the actual real name of it is the Ozark Highlands. So where we sit right now at our distillery in Defiance, Missouri, we're in the northeastern edge of the Ozark Highlands. Where Demetrius's distillery is over in the Union, Missouri area, that's in the Ozark Highlands. Branson is in the Ozark Highlands. Okay. Blacksmith over in Lowman, Missouri is in the Ozark Highlands. Okay. So it's a big region, and the important thing for the distilling industry is the water. Natural limestone filtered water is some of the best water to make spirits with. And so Missouri, the southern part of Missouri, is the best water in the country. Kentucky has some limestone filtered. So does Tennessee. We have this very similar climate to Kentucky and Tennessee. We've got almost as long a history of distilling as they do, and they use our barrels. So I think we have a better story. They use Missouri white oak barrels, as does Scotland. They use the reuse those. So Missouri's white oak barrels, which are grown throughout the Ozark Highlands, they are at the center of a global industry. Yeah. And Missouri just quietly goes about their business, makes really good whiskey, makes really good barrels, kind of tells people about it every now and then, but we've got a lot to brag about. Yeah.
I mean, as I've been starting my bourbon journey, I started obviously in Kentucky where, that's where its name was. But now I've got a lot of my bottles are Missouri brands. I mean, it's
phenomenal whiskey coming out of Missouri.
Amazing. Yeah. So, all right. So let's talk about what you like to drink. When you typically drink your bourbon or scotch, how do you like to drink it? Neat, waterback?
My preference, and there is no wrong way to drink whiskey, regardless of what people say. If somebody says that, they're just pretentious. Drink the whiskey you like the way you like it, and enjoy it, and hang out with friends and spend time. I prefer Big Rock. And I prefer 100 proof and above. And so the Big Rock just gives it a little bit of chill, a little bit of release because of the slow melting aspect of that. So that's just my preference. I also do like it in a nice cocktail. There's actually some really good martinis and cocktails we make here at the tasting room at Stone Ledge that you can experience some other aspects of whiskey. But that's my preference. But really, I think if somebody's going to try whiskey for the first time, first you try it neat. Yeah. Then you do a splash of water. Then you add a little bit of ice. Then you have it over a Big Rock and figure out how you like it.
Yeah. We talked about that last year with Russ from Blacksmith, and he related it to when you get a soda and you put ice in the soda, it really waters it down. So you have after an hour, that soda doesn't taste like that anymore. And so I really liked that picture, and it forced me to say, okay, let's try it neat first, right? And like you said, start with a little bit of water, a little bit of ice. But typically, I will, especially on a summer night, it's getting hotter now. Right. You'll find a nice rock glass.
Big Rock, that's my preference. And it's funny talking to Demetrius. I asked him once, why do you only make 100 proof or above? And he's like, well, because I like to drink it over a Big Rock. And if you do a Big Rock with 80 proof, it's going to get a little bit more questionable. Yeah. You're going to lose some of that 80 proof. I think you'd probably want to drink more of a neat, maybe even the 90s, 92s, more of a neat experience.
Yeah. So, this last one, if people listening come out to Stone Ledge and Defiance here and see Mark behind the bar or at the bar, what's he going to be drinking?
So I will be drinking, one of my favorites is a Downtown Defiance. So that's our whiskey. It's also Judgment Tree Brandy. It reminds me a little of Manhattan. Okay. It's got that kind of flavor aspect to it. It's a lot of alcohol. Which is great.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah. So I'm having it over a Big Rock. And we have a whole variety of martinis and cocktails we do as well. We're really known. Actually, we make vodka as well. So inversion vodka.
My wife loves it.
Our espresso martini is very popular. My wife designed it because she was tired of espresso martinis tasting like pudding, like dessert. Okay. Yeah. And so she wanted to taste like alcohol and coffee. And she succeeded. It's very smooth. There's alcohol in it. It's got that good coffee flavor to it. And it doesn't taste like a chocolate drink.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. my wife said if I can get another bottle today, then I need to pick one up. So it makes up for her taking a half day this morning for me to have fun. All right, so let's talk about your business journey, the distillery journey. So we are at Stone Ledge.
Correct.
Your whiskey is Stone Lock.
Stolock.
Stolock.
Yeah.
Stolock. Sorry. Tell me a little bit, what's the history behind all that?
Yeah, so like anything good in life, it started with a bunch of people sitting around drinking. We were just kind of coming up with crazy business ideas. One of the gentlemen in the group was Demetrius. And we had this idea of, hey, why don't we do, he already had his distillery. It was like, why don't we as a group, the rest of us, do a distillery and work with Demetrius to contract production and really lean into the Ozark Highlands. Next morning, it still sounded like a good idea. So that was the first step. Then we spent a good amount, probably a year or so after that, just designing and figuring and talking to potential investors and figuring out how are we going to do this crazy thing we just came up with. And finally worked out to where we started working with Demetrius, getting some aged product, starting putting up our own barrels, and then released our first whiskey, our flagship whiskey, Stolock whiskey, in December of 2022. The next year we came out with our vodka in 23, summer of 23, and then winter of 23 we came out with our first single barrel reserve as well. Initially it was Missouri. We self-distribute across Missouri. So we launched with that, our self-distribution. We continue to do that, and we're adding to our portfolio as well. And then started looking at other states. So we had a business partner down in Florida who had just sold his own vodka company. And so he was very well connected in Florida. So we're like, all right, the next place we need to go is Florida. Yeah. So we launched our vodka down there. More recently, we introduced our whiskey in Florida as well. And then the next step after that was the United Kingdom. So it's not much harder to go to the UK as it is to go to Illinois, for example.
Really?
Every state's a sovereign nation when it comes to alcohol. So every state, you have to have another distributor. There's different regulations. It's different rules. So why not just go to the UK where I knew a whole bunch of people? I'm originally from there. I'm a part-time diplomat as well, so I work part-time for the British government. So I had a lot of connections in the UK. And one of our investors was in the UK as well. So we launched into the UK, and then more recently we've launched into Washington, D.C. And New York. Coming up after that was going to be New Jersey, and then we're set up in Pennsylvania, just waiting for our distributor to have that, because it's a control state. Okay. So we're waiting for to have that conversation with the buyer at the state level to see if we can get our whiskey into Pennsylvania as well. So our business model is kind of where there's relationships and where there's opportunity. Mm-hmm. Because the worst thing in the world is to go into a state and have no infrastructure whatsoever. Yeah. You go into a distributor and you're small fry. They don't pay any attention to you. Mm-hmm. You don't get any traction. You're wasting your time. So we're looking for those opportunities. And then while we were doing all that over the last few years, we were starting to look for where is going to be Stone Ledge's long-term home. And so we looked in Labadee, we looked in Augusta, we looked in Marthasville, we looked in Herman, and I live in Defiance. Yeah. And so we looked in Defiance, there was nothing available at the time, and just kind of kept looking, didn't find the right location. And then this building was owned by the Hoffman family of companies, and they decided they wanted to sell it. This used to be the old Terry and Kathy's, Don's place. Mm-hmm. They decided they wanted to sell it, and they approached us at the time and said, hey, are you interested? I'm like, well, I can't buy it yet. I can lease it. And so they gave me a really good price to lease it. And then just a couple of months ago, we finally bought it from them. So they gave us a great price on both ends. So we were able to have this place where we can host all our, the friends we have and the friends we haven't met yet. Host everybody here in our tasting room and cool. Show off Missouri one drink at a time. And
we're sitting in the cigar lounge.
We are. So we have a completely separate area that's a cigar lounge. So the rest of the tasting room is non-smoking, because a lot of people don't enjoy that. Yep. But for those that do, we've got air handling. We've got a separate area, comfy chairs, where you can come in and enjoy a nice cigar. We do have a curated selection of cigars. You can also bring your own in. Same with food. We have a charcuterie. limited food selections, but you're able to bring your own food or stop next door and grab a meal to go at the Watering Hole, which is a great restaurant next door to us here in downtown Defiance.
Yeah, we grabbed some when we were here for the bottle share.
Yeah.
It was really good hamburger.
Really good farm-to-table restaurant.
Yeah.
Really good farm family that runs it.
Very cool. So we talked a little. You touched on it a little bit because you have that relationship with Demetrius, and you get the barrels from there. But let's kind of talk through the process, because every distiller has a little bit of a process of crafting your spirit. How do you go about choosing that when you have that relationship with another? I mean, we were just there at his distillery, and we saw barrels with your name on it.
Right.
Right? So how does that process work?
A lot of trust.
Yeah.
Demetrius has a reputation, and a solid one, 9th generation distiller, so we do lean on him a lot. But for example, when we picked the initial mash that was going to be Stolock, our flagship, we basically worked together with him to narrow it down. And then we brought in one of our main investors to do the final pick. Thankfully, he picked my favorite. I was very happy. So that's the thing I like about the flavor profile of our flagship is it reminds me a little of Scotch, but it is still a bourbon. So it's funny. We'll be out doing tastings, and somebody will come up to the tasting table, and what's this? Ozark Highlands. It's like, well, I only drink bourbon. Well, try it. You'll probably like it, and they do. And then somebody else comes up, well, I only drink Scotch. Well, you should try this. You might like it. And they usually do. Or I only like Irish whiskey. Well, you should give this a go. It's somewhat similar, but it's an American bourbon, and they like it. We seem to have found a mash that sits, if you drew a Venn diagram, it's where they all connect.
Yeah.
It reminds people of all three, which I think is fantastic. It's one of my favorite whiskeys to drink. So it's really working with him. And then when we did our single barrels, we started to do, I wanted to look at something a little different. I know I really like the honey wheat that's in our flagship. So he brought out a few, and the one I chose was a 90% honey wheat, 10% malted barley. So that's been our single barrels up until this point, to the point of where eventually we'll probably come out with a Stolock wheated, which will be a younger version of a 90% honey wheat, 10% malted barley. And then our new single barrel reserve, which is just coming out, that's actually an older version of our flagship. So that's a 10-year plus bourbon.
Okay, very cool. So it just allows you find that sweet spot like you're talking about, and then you're able to kind of tweak things a little bit one way or the other to kind of meet other needs as well.
Exactly. And we're really leaning into that Ozark Highlands.
Yeah.
So the all-natural limestone filtered water is essential. The made-in-Missouri barrels is essential. Heirloom seed grains that are grown in Missouri. So it is a 100% Missouri whiskey. We know the fields. We know the wells. We know the process. It is 100% Missouri and Missouri Ozark Highlands. But it's definitely a lot of trust placed in our distiller, which is true in any distillery, whether you're contracting with a distiller or you have one in-house.
Yeah, absolutely. You put a lot of trust in the people you work with.
Exactly.
Or have work for you.
Right.
Absolutely.
And this industry is all about people. That's one of the coolest things. We're at the tasting room, and, people come in, you build relationships, you enjoy, they slow down. You work in the industry, you find the right people to work with in other states. It is a very people-centric industry.
Yeah, I agree. And we had our monthly bottle share last night, and just over half the people there were new for the first time. And, the openness and the conversations we're able to have with just really kind of strangers has been really quite fascinating over the last 5, 6, 7 months. It's just been pretty cool to do that. So you talked a little bit about some challenges, especially when you talk about distillery or distribution. Need to know people. What are some other challenges and maybe some triumphs along the way on your journey here? That's
the biggest challenge is of course distribution for a small distiller in a state like Missouri, where the contracts are not the greatest. It's a franchise state. There's some great distributors out there, and there's some not great distributors out there. We've decided to go the route of self-distribution because we want to be able to control our destiny.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with going with the right distributor. You just got to spend the time. and figure out, all right, who are they? What are they about? Are you going to get lost? Who are the sales staff? Are they going to advocate for you? Because you're very much reliant on them as they go out and talk to the bars. So distribution's been one big challenge which we've been dealing with. That's probably the biggest, actually.
And so when you say you self-distribute, does that mean when your partner in Florida wants some, you have to drive to Florida?
No, so self-distribute in Missouri.
Okay, so
any other state. So Missouri's great because they allow us to self-distribute.
Gotcha.
It's a very friendly state when it comes to distilling. Any other state, we have to work through a distributor. Depending on the state, the model's different. Florida, we have 2 or 3 different distributors we work with.
Got it. Okay, that makes more sense.
We're going to be working with another one very shortly. Pennsylvania, there's one that we deal with because they're dealing with the government for us.
Okay.
Because it's a control state. New York, DC, we do an online distributor called Liberation Distributing, LibDib. So all the stores in those states order online, and we ship directly from here to them. But the interface is handled by the distributor. Okay. So it complies with all the laws, but we don't have to ship a whole pallet up to New York and just have it sit there in storage. It's as a case is ordered, it gets shipped via FedEx.
Okay.
To that store in New York or DC or whichever state we're using that company to distribute within.
Nice. So that makes that be a little easier.
And I think, and you asked the other question was, what's the biggest success? I think telling the Ozark Highlands story. That is an exciting story. It is a very Missouri-centric story. There's a lot to brag about. So it's a story that has been written for the last 200 plus years, and we are thrilled that we are part of the next chapter. And there's a lot of other people who are joining that chapter as well. Demetrius, Blackshire, Blacksmith, all these other distillers are getting excited about this identity that has always existed but never been codified. And now it's been codified as an actual category of spirits in Missouri and in the U.S.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear that. I mean, as a Missourian, to hear your accent and where you came from, and why did you just throw a dart, or you knew about the lime? So why Defiance, Missouri?
Oh, it's a long, sordid story.
All right, you've got 5 minutes.
Yes. So I immigrated in 1989. So I was a teenager when I immigrated. My parents came over to help start up a church. My dad was a minister in the United Kingdom. Okay. And so kind of we came as missionaries, I guess. Yeah. And I got here, walked into a radio station and asked for a job. And worked in St. Louis radio throughout the 90s, various talk shows. And I don't know if you remember the Stephen D. C. morning show back in the 90s. I was on there.
Okay, yeah.
And then while I've been here, you start to explore, and I got into marketing, and I started marketing, learning more about Missouri. I used to market Missouri for a living a few years back. And you start discovering just how amazing Missouri is. And one of the biggest things I've learned about St. Louis and about Missouri is people who are born here have no idea how good they have it.
Yeah.
They have no idea until they leave. There's a reason that people leave and come back. Because Missouri has a phenomenal amount of great things going on. But if you just grew up with it, you take it for granted. Mm-hmm. And I came here and I discovered incredible people, incredible opportunity, incredible industry, amazing outdoor lifestyle. And so I get excited about it.
Yeah.
And now, because of what we're doing with the whiskey and the vodka, we get to brag about Missouri in a way that most people haven't heard about before, but are very excited to hear for the first time.
That's very cool. Yeah, I agree. I think growing up here, I do recall a lot of friends saying, I got to get out of this town, or I got to get out of the state. And if I recall correctly, a lot of them are they're just back.
Yeah.
They get it out of their system, but they come back to, because you have, like you said, you have a little bit of everything. You've got the beautiful rivers, you've got the mountains, or the highlands, you've got the flats up north.
Exactly.
And you've got a little bit of everything. That's pretty cool. So, all right, so let's get into the final part of the initial episode here. We're going to start talking about your product, which you've already kind of talked about. But let's start speaking specifically to what we're going to taste for the 15th of the month. And as you go through the list, talk about what's the name and then where they can kind of find it. Because the idea, again, those who are listening, remind you for the first episode of the season that is hopefully you hear this on the first of the month or around the first of the month, You go out and you find it in your local liquor stores, preferably, hopefully, one of our business member liquor stores. You can get it at a discount. And then when the 15th drops, you get to taste it right along with us. So go back to the whole camaraderie and being together, even though it's virtual, however you want to say it. But it's something. And so what are we going to be tasting, and kind of give us a little bit of behind those things?
Yeah, so Stowlock is the name of our whiskey.
Yep.
So Stowloch. So it's a combination of two words. Stow is 7th century Old English for holy place, and loch is Gaelic for lake. Okay. So literally the name means holy water, which everybody who drinks whiskey knows they're drinking holy water. Yeah. So we've claimed the name. So we're the actual holy water, Stowlock. Okay. And then the one that is about to come out is our latest single barrel reserve. So I mentioned that our single barrel reserve up to this point has been a 90% honey wheat, 10% malted barley. Well, we discovered a phenomenal barrel that was, we pulled it. It's 10 years old. It's our flagship. So our flagship whiskey is 55% sweet corn, 40% honey wheat, 5% malted barley, aged a minimum of 4 years. Well, this single barrel reserve is a minimum of 10 years.
Step up, yeah.
So very, very smooth, absolutely phenomenal whiskey, and that's the one we're gonna be tasting in the next episode. We're available across Missouri, about 150 locations across Missouri, St. Charles area. Our flagship is more common to find. Our single barrel is dotted here and there around the region. You can always get it here at the distillery as well. So Grillo's in Lake St. Louis. Yep. They've been carrying us since day one. Friar Tuck, Total Wine, Dogwood. If you want to pour, you go to Two Shamrocks up on Highway K. But there's actually a map on our website, stowlock.com, that shows all the locations, not just in Missouri, but around the world, all the locations that carry the whiskey. So wherever you are, you can see if you can grab a wee dram of Ozark Highlands finest.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, so you heard it. You were going to try their brand new 10-year-old reserve.
Correct.
So go out there, find it. You've got a couple days. If it takes a little longer, just wait till you find it for the next episode to drop, and then we'll taste it. So we'll catch you at the next episode. Thanks very much, Mark.
Oh, thanks for having me.
That was Mark Sutherland of Stone Ledge Distillery. And what an incredible way to launch Season 2. Are you kidding me? This episode was a masterclass in what it means to build something authentic, from the ground up, with heart, history, and purpose. Mark reminded us that Stone Ledge isn't just producing bourbon. They're producing a sense of place. As he said, we didn't want to just make another bourbon. We wanted to make a Missouri bourbon. Everything they do, from the Missouri corn to the locally coopered barrels to the distiller's home in Defiance, speaks the deep-rooted commitment. And for Mark, distilling isn't just a new chapter. It's the full-circle expression of a life spent connecting people, telling stories, and building community. I mean, when he said whiskey is storytelling, it's community in a glass, how do you not bottle that up and sell it? That's amazing. He also mentioned that, people in Missouri wanted something real, and we do. We love our whiskey. That's what they're building here at Stone Ledge. And that's exactly what Sip Wisely is here for. We want to be able to highlight the people who are doing it right. So, coming up next, for those that are new here, and for those that maybe forgot about last year, is our tasting episode. Middle of the month tasting episode of the distillery that we are highlighting. I get to sit down again with Mark to explore the new Stowlock single barrel, and man, was it delicious. If you want to sip along with us, and trust me, you do, now's the time to go and grab a bottle from your local shop, whether that's A1 Wine and Spirits, whether that's On the Rocks. I would recommend going and doing that and finding their single barrel, the current single barrel, because it's delicious. You hear us break it down, the nose, the taste, the finish, everything you've come to love about these tasting episodes. In the meantime, Follow the podcast on your favorite app. Share this episode with a friend and tag us in your pours. We're at Sip Wisely and proudly supported by the St. Charles Bourbon Society. We're just getting started this season, and the next pour's already waiting. Until then, sip slow, sip smart, and sip wisely. Thank you for tuning in to the Sip Wisely podcast. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button to get the latest episodes. Don't forget to visit our website at stcharlesbourbonsociety.com for the show notes. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please share them on social media. Follow us on all platforms by searching for St. Charles Bourbon Society. Our goal is to equip you with the knowledge to sip wisely. Cheers.